A very warm welcome. Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to all the panelists and attendees joining us today for the webinar on doing business with India and Russia. I'm Sukriti Mehta, Marketing Manager at R&M India. Before we begin, a quick note. This webinar will be conducted in two languages, English and Russian. If you wish to listen to Russian audio, kindly switch to Russian language option on Zoom by following these steps. First, click on the interpretation icon at the bottom of your screen, which is a global sign, or you can find it out in more options. Kindly look for it. Second, select Russian from the language options. Adjust your volume settings if needed. I request you all to actively participate throughout the session. You may share the questions in the Q&A box below. These will be taken up towards the end. We hope today's session and discussion will be insightful for all the participants. To start the session, I would now like to invite Mr. Yuvan Marwah, Chairman of R&M India, to deliver the welcome note. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sakriti. A warm welcome to all the participants joining us for today's online seminar on doing business in Russia and India, organized by R&M India. We are thrilled to have such a diverse group of individuals gathered here to explore the exciting opportunities for collaboration between these two vital markets. R&M India is a consulting firm operating in Delhi since 1946, spanning three generations and having offices in Gurgaon, Bangalore, Mumbai, Raipur, and London. Every business seeks growth and thus looks forward to expanding cross borders. The enduring strategic relationship between India and Russia presents a significant opportunity across energy, technology, manufacturing, and trade sectors. The Russian market, with its vast industrial landscape and resources, and the rapidly growing Indian economy, with its huge workforce and open investment environment, are ripe for collaboration. Successfully navigating these two markets requires specialist knowledge in local regulatory framework, especially concerning corporate law, taxation, and currency control, which are critical to sustain cross-border success. Today, we will cover the relevant issues for conducting business and investing in Russia and India, focusing on practical advice on structuring compliance and strategic growth. I would now like to introduce our esteemed panel for today's session. Mr. Thomas Brand is a leading attorney and founding partner of Brand and Partners, who have been advising the foreign investors on investments and transactions in the Russian Federation for more than 2 decades, and specializes in joint ventures, mergers and acquisition, real estate trade, distribution, and corporate law. Welcome, Thomas.
Good afternoon, everybody.
We have now Ekaterina Kabanova. She's the head of the corporate department at Brand and Partner, having 15 years experience consulting in various areas of law, including corporate, contractual, migration law. She specializes in providing legal advice in corporate restructuring, merger and acquisition issues. Welcome, Katerina. We now have Mr. Gleb Stepanov, a lawyer managing the tax practice at Brand and Partner, advising Russian foreign companies on contract and civil law, and specializes on issues on taxation, currency, controls, customs, and anti-sanction restrictions. Welcome, Gleb. Now we have Mr. Sami
Thank you.
Kotwani, who is the founder of the Imperial Tailoring Company and the president of India Business Alliance in Moscow. As a long-standing entrepreneur in Russia, he brings a unique ground-level perspective on the realities and opportunities of operating a consumer-focused business in the Russian market and is a leading voice in fostering strong Indo-Russian trade and economic ties. Welcome to the seminar, Sami. We now have Ms. Jagrati Seth, who's a
Thank
partner
you.
of Taxation and Regulatory Advisory Services at R&M India. She's operating out of Mumbai and has expertise in corporate restructuring, demergers, capital structure, valuations, and private equity deals. She has extensive expertise in corporate laws and exchange control regulations. And last, we have Mr. Ankit Dharamshi, the Associate Director and Fund Manager at R&M India, specializes in fund management, investment advisory, and financial structuring, with extensive experience in managing portfolios and guiding strategic investment decisions. Lastly, I would like to introduce our moderator for today's session, Mr. Raghu Marwah, CEO, R&M India. He is a chartered accountant with over 20 years of experience, specializing in international taxation, cross-border structuring, merger and acquisition advising, guiding global and Indian businesses on expansion and strategic growth. We now look forward to an enlightening session and discover the potential that lies ahead for all future investments and business success. Thank you for being a part of this exciting seminar. With this, I would now like to hand over to our moderator, Mr. Raghu Marwah, for opening the session. Welcome to all.
Thank you so much for your kind words, Mr. Marwah, and for joining us all the way from Phuket in Thailand. Uh, Before we start, I want to quote from the Mahatma Gandhi, who had said that live as if you were to die tomorrow, learn as if you were to live forever. With those words, I am going to start this session by talking about how important uh, India and Russia are to each other, not only as friends, but also as strong business partners. Only recently, this week, our foreign affairs minister has announced the opening of two new consulates in Russia, one at Yekaterinburg and one at Kazan, in addition to the embassy in Moscow and the consulates in St. Petersburg and Vladivostok. The trade has been growing from 65 billion to about 68 billion presently, and imports into India from Russia constitute mainly crude oil, fertilizer, minerals, and exports from India to Russia constitute pharmaceuticals, machinery, and agriculture. I'm just talking about the broad sectors here. With that little bit of a context setting, I'm going to firstly hand over to my friend Thomas, who is a GGI member firm out of Moscow. And I recall very fondly my visit to his office in August when I was down in Moscow. And I have a lot of friends, by the way, in Moscow, and one of them was kind enough to invite me to his dacha in Moscow and show me a little bit more about the Russian life and meet his family. And it was really an amazing insight, learning the importance of, how Russians love to do business in the banya, just like Americans do business on the golf course. So that was a key takeaway from that visit. With that little bit of personal anecdote, I'm going to pass on to Thomas. Thomas, if you'd like to say a few words about yourself and your firm. Over to you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Raghu. So maybe to the disappointment of everybody, I'm not Indian, I'm not Russian, I'm German. I'm a German qualified attorney at law, but I moved to Moscow 26 years ago and have been practicing as an international lawyer in Moscow. I was working for some international law firms, and 16 years ago, we found our own law firm, Branded Partner. We are a business law boutique based here in Moscow, and we also have an office in Minsk in Belarus. And besides that, we have an accounting firm, KBK Accounting. And as Raghu mentioned, we are also a member of GGI International, one of the biggest professional services networks worldwide. We are focused here in Moscow on advising inbound investments. That means foreign companies doing business in Russia. Because I'm German European, our client base consists mainly of European, but also some Asian companies that produce in Russia, that have invested in Russia in special economic zones or greenfield, brownfield projects, but also a lot of distribution companies. We have so far only one Indian client, I have to admit, which is a big textile producer based also close to Delhi. And yeah, we are assisting our clients here in all corporate tax matters. We are a full service law firm. And with my team, we are working in 3 languages, in German, English, and Russian. And over the last 3 years, we also gained a couple of Russian clients. That was not so much our focus before, because we were busy with our international clients, and due to the political situation, foreign businesses from the unfriendly countries has decreased a little bit. So we are now switching a little bit our focus. Yeah, we are anyway optimistic, and I've been to Delhi only once last October, and I hope to be back because India is first of all old culture, also a big country. Not as big as Russia, but lots of things to see. And what I find also astonishing is that, okay, if you look at the trade statistics, it's quite impressive what has happened over the last years. And the partnership agreement between India and Russia that was signed in 2000 or 2002, so already a long time ago, seems to gain force now over the last 3 years. And I think we are in a very interesting time regarding Indian-Russian business and relationships, in particular also because Putin will travel to Delhi. There will be a big congress held in New Delhi beginning of December. So I think really interesting times. And that means that I think both businesses from India and Russia should be prepared to do business in the other country. And an important issue in this regard is to be prepared to know the legal framework and also the traditions and the customs in the other country, how business is really made in practice. And therefore, I think our seminar is quite helpful, I hope, for both sides, Russian companies who consider to invest in India and also Indian companies in Russia. Having said that, I would pass the word back to Raghu, and then we will start with our presentations, I guess. So thank you for the time being.
Thank you so much, Thomas, for those kind words. And as they say, curiosity brought you here, clarity will take you forward. So with those words, I'm going to start with our first panelist of the day, which is Sammy Kotwani. And Sammy, as you heard, is the president of the Indian Business Association based out of Moscow. So, Sammy, we are very keen to, of course, know your personal story, but also get your perspective from a business and trade collaboration point of view about how your association is supporting the efforts of Indian and Russian businesses enhancing trade. Over to you, Sammy.
Very good afternoon to everyone. It's a privilege to join this important discussion on expanding the horizons of India Russia economic cooperation. How relevant and complementary our two economics are. Agility, trust, and long term vision. As President of Indian Business, India and Russia are entering a phase where collaboration must go beyond traditional sectors. Whether it's manufacturing, technology, pharmaceuticals, infrastructure, or the rapid growth investment ecosystem as Gift City, both sides stand to benefit immensely from structured, transparent, and well supported partnership. Our role as business leaders, advisor, and institution is to simplify market entry, build credible bridges between companies, and ensure that investors feel secured and informed in both ju- jurisdictions. With the right legal frameworks, tax strategies, and operational models, such I congratulate RNM India and brand and partners for creating this platform, and I look forward to working together to unlock the next chapter of India Russia economic growth. Thank you.
So, Sammy, thanks so much for those opening remarks. And before I let you go, I have to firstly compliment you and your team. I visited your store in August and I was blown away by the hospitality of your brother Andy and your team and the warm welcome that everybody, as a matter of fact, from what I hear from India, gets at your store. And for everybody who's joined us, the best suits in Moscow, right behind Kremlin, are at Sammy's store. But your personal journey has also been unique, all the way from Mumbai to Moscow. I believe there was a unique journey all across Europe before you headed to Moscow, and I believe that you first entered a casino in Moscow, which and that's where you got your first break by making tailoring suits for the coupiers at the casino. Would you like to share a little anecdote about your personal story and how early in your career you made it your home? How did you choose Moscow as your home?
See, my good luck was I was not following the news and I was not watching the Russian television. I came in the most toughest time where anybody would have thought of going. So times were very difficult, but only one thing pays is hard work. Yes, you have to always think out of the box, look for new things. Yes, I have been to casino 365 days, but I have never gambled in my life. So you have to be very very to the point. I came for business and I did my business. I was never spoke to any Russian girl for first 5 years in Russia because they told me they are KGB. So it kept me away and I was only focused to my business. So hard work pays. It's more interesting times now. And I think whatever we Indians have lost the market, this is time to gain it back.
Absolutely, Samiji. I think, like they say, learning is the one superpower that compounds daily. So, with your insights and your personal feedback and knowledge about the Russian market, I think a lot of people can. Uh, uh, it helps a lot of people as to how to remain focused, how to continue doing the right things, and let the Almighty take it from there. So, with those words, opening remarks from Sammy, I'm going to switch back to Thomas and Gleb. So, Thomas and Gleb, what do you think about the current trade and investment dynamics between India and Russia? And like you mentioned in your opening remarks, you're quite hopeful about how things are going to shape up going from here in the current geopolitical environment. So, why are you so optimistic about India and Russia? I know There's the number one Russian partner remains China. Russian and Chinese trade is at all-time high. But what is your thoughts about Russia and India? Over to you, Gleb and Thomas.
Gleb, would you start the presentation, please? Yes. Yeah, Raghu, I am an optimist, but at the same time, I'm also a realist. And I think in these days, nothing is easy, but there are a lot of opportunities. Yeah. And when it comes to Russian-Indian relationships, that is also not an easy case. If you, for example, look at the current situation with the secondary sanctions from the US. And what I read today in the newspaper is that also the first Indian oil companies stopped buying Russian oil. I have not verified that, but that is, of course, crucial, because if you look at the figures, you can already see that there is a trade disbalance between Russia and India. So India is exporting less to Russia than Russia exports to India so far, but that is mainly oil and gas. Yeah? Also some other things, of course, but to keep it simple here. So I think that is a problem, or might be a problem. And also the secondary sanctions, for example, I know that there are participation of Indian oil companies in Russian oil projects, and they have more than 300 million US dollars now in profits stuck in Russia. They cannot get out due to the Western sanctions. So that is not easy, but if you look at what happened over the year, also the meetings on the governmental level, last week, the Indian foreign minister was here and met Mr. Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, and they were talking about extending the cooperation. And I think the political will is to extend and to work close together between these two countries. And we know that Vladimir Putin will go to India, most probably. That is being organized now. I think it's his third time. And there will be a big Congress held in India beginning of December, which will be interesting and where we will probably also participate. And that also shows that there is not only the will of the companies doing business, but that they have the political backing, on both sides. And that is always very, very important, in particular, of course, for big projects. But nevertheless, after almost 3 decades being a business lawyer here in Russia and helping foreign companies to work here, I have to say that the legal framework in Russia has heavily improved over the last 3 decades, in particular also the last 10 years. So we have really reasonable tax laws and tax procedural laws. We have a very good corporate law. We have a civil law that is pretty similar to European civil law. And we have new cadastral laws. It's easier to buy and sell real estate. So the overall framework for doing business here is pretty good. We also have special economic zones. We have tax benefits for local and foreign investors. Gleb, my colleague, will tell about that later on. To set up a company is very easy. We just set up a company for a German company, which is quite rare these days, or for their subsidiary here in Russia for a big project in the Far East, in Siberia. And setting up the company took us 4 days. So that is also very easy if you know how to do it. Having said that, I think the will to do business is there. The legal framework in Russia, at least, you will tell us about the legal framework in India, are also there and are quite good. and improving day by day, I would say. So we have all the conditions to do business. And for the details now, I would like to introduce my colleague Gleb, who's working in our tax practice. He's not the head of the tax practice. The head of the tax practice is Valeria Khmelevskaya. And Gleb is a Russian lawyer and also a tax advisor and a specialist in currency control and international contracts, and helping our foreign investors, companies to work through the jungle of Russian laws. Please, Gleb, start your presentation.
Yeah, thank you very much, Thomas. Thank you very much, everyone, for the warm words and the introduction. Good afternoon. I would like to continue quite shortly on the trade between Russia and India. As Mr. Marwah already mentioned, it is about 60 billion US dollars presently. I mean, not presently, in the year 2024. The numbers for 2025 I haven't seen yet. But I believe the trend is that the trade volume between India and Russia is growing rapidly. And it's not only Russian oil, it's also India's exports to Russia, which are disbalanced compared to Russia's exports, but still it's about 4.3 billions of US dollars, and this number is also growing. It's a 40% increase starting from 2023. And we have to understand that this growth in trade volume between Russia and India is caused basically by the sanctions. I have a graph here that is showing that in years 2020, 21, and 22, basically nothing happened. And then Russia's trade with Western countries reduced. And obviously the money had to go somewhere, and the trade with India is growing ever since. And my understanding is that Russia and India are aiming to 100 billion US dollar turnover in the year 2030. Honestly, looking at the charts, I believe it is achievable even sooner. Well, I hope so, at least. So this creates, along with the fact that a lot of Western companies left Russian market, a huge market gap and large investment opportunity for Indian companies to invest in Russia and make money there. So I think I would move on to business models, or how to basically to invest in Russia. So firstly, I think most companies would like to try to test the market, to find customers, to do direct sales to Russian distributors or to end clients if it's possible. And it's good for testing the market. It's not associated with a lot of risks, but you will not have any brand presence in Russia. Most importantly, you will not have any control over distribution to end customers, and who are the end customers. There will be no long-term customer relationships in most cases, and you will get less margin. Hence, it could be profitable and interesting to start investing. And how to do that? You could start a joint venture with a Russian partner company. So, for example, you have a Russian distributor that you worked with for some time. So you could create a joint venture with this company, or maybe you could buy out and acquire your distributor and continue working with instant access to customers, teams, and logistics that your Russian partner already developed previously. A way that is a little bit more difficult is establishing from scratch, 100% subsidiary or a branch, and get full control over your presence in Russia. But this option is, of course, more difficult than starting from working with your local partners here. So there is a difference, of course, in presence in Russia between branches of foreign company and Russian LLCs, which in Russia are called OOO or triple O. There is also an option to create a non-commercial representative office, but this is a totally different topics that would require an additional webinar on explaining the nuances. So we will speak about commercial branches and well, commercial LLCs. So there is a lot of text and differences about differences between branches and LLCs. I will not read it out loud. I believe the presentation will be shared afterwards to all participants, and well, you could get familiar with this information as it might help you. So here I want to pass word to my colleague, Ekaterina, and she can tell more about how to start your business in Russia. Ekaterina?
Hello, colleagues. My name is Ekaterina. Thank you very much for joining the webinar. Just a second, I have to open our presentation on the next slide. Just a moment, please. Okay.
Perfect. I think we all got it all sorted out, Ekaterina. No worries. Over to you now.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, we're talking today a lot about the time for relations between Russia and India, and talking about the numbers. And I have some statistics for you. The number of companies in Russia tripled as of September 25. Now there are more than 1,000. And especially as a migration law specialist, I can confirm that we have now a lot of Indian specialists in Russia in getting work permits and working in Russian entities or joint ventures with the Indian capital. So as you can see, we have more than 14,000 Indian citizens as specialists in Russia. My colleague already said about the business models in Russia, and I would just briefly tell you about the general plan. Usually, companies wishing to get it on a Russian market, they search for information about legal forms and some special rules to come to Russian market. It's the first step, information. Therefore, you would need consultants in India and Russia. Therefore, we are for you. And then to choose the viable business concept, it is usually more specific of financial consultants taking decision about any model of business in Russia, and then the execution. And what is the Russian specific? As my colleague Mr. Brandt said already, in Russia there are the legal regulation of business activities simplified and improved the last years. A lot of services, state services, communications with counterparties became digital. We have clear legal norms, and usually the specific in Russia is rather language, and strict migration regulation. But I think that both difficulties can be solved with the activity and interest of the party coming to Russian market. And as we're talking about the business models, I would just draw your attention to the LLC form, because actually it's the most popular form of for foreign companies to be present in Russia and to have to make business activity, even from the beginning one. So passing through distributors form and just come to the LLC. Well, LLCs, they are very similar to actually private companies in India. And it is a legal entity with a share capital divided into shares, and the participants, the shareholders, they bear personal liability only up to the value of their shares in the capital. We have divided the setting up the company process in 3 steps, as you can see on the slide. Pre-registration step, it is drafting foundation documents, then making decision on essential issues like name, amount of the share capital, shares of the participants, general directors. It is actually executive body of the company, the CEO, and so on. Every company in Russia has to have accountant or get a contract with the outsourcing company providing accounting services. And for the registration, for the first registration step, the company already needs a legal address in Russia. There are decisions to make as well for the bank to choose bank accounts in Russia. We have Russian banks. We have a lot of foreign banks on the market. And then next step would be assembling, legalizing the documents to use them for registration. LLC can be found by 1 or more participants, up to 50. It could be found by natural persons or legal entities. For example, Indian company deciding on setting up a company in Russia would need to apostille, legalize some documents in India, translate them, and provide with the registration applications to Russian authorities. Surely would be needed an excerpt from the registrar of India. Well, the next step for registration would be the notary visit in Russia with the founders. Usually it's not so easy, so there are other options. It could be the signing of the founding documents in India, legalizing them, then sending them to an attorney in Russia. He would use the power of attorney and visit the registration office in Russia and apply for registration. And the next step, after the company is registered, as Mr. Brown said, it takes now 3 working days to set up a company in Russia. The final step would be to receive the foundation documents. You can in electronic form with the digital signatures. Oops, sorry, just a second to return. Issue a stamp for the company, get a digital signature for the CEO, opening bank accounts. It usually takes up from 3 days up to 2 weeks to open the accounts in Russia. So in different states, it's different. In Russia, it's some kind of this term. then the founders would have to pay the charter capital. They have 4 months from the day of company registration to do it. And actually, on this stage, the company is fully commercially active and can conclude contracts, employ employees, and already have commercial activity in Russia.
Perfect.
And Mhm. And I hope I
Perfect.
have a little bit more time to talk about the employment law. Have I?
I think, Ekaterina, let's circle back to the employment law. But this has
Sure.
been very, very informative. Thank you so much. I'm sure the audience has loved, the process, which is very similar to India, should I say, or the Commonwealth process. But moving ahead, I'm cognizant of the time. One of the things that I just wanted to share, insofar as what Thomas and you had said, was, the sanction on Rosneft and Lukoil. So both of those sanctions have started from today as we speak. 21st November was the date when those sanctions kicked in. And obviously, as we are moving forward, things are getting into very interesting territory. And lastly, the other aspect that I wanted to talk about was staffing. I think one of the reasons why we have set up this new consulate in Yekaterinburg is that there are a lot of Indian manpower which is being sent to Russia, especially for construction, for mining activities in Siberia and other activities, and that is becoming more and more of an important aspect. And from what I hear, that there is an MOU that is likely to be signed by President Putin when he comes to India around staffing. So you're absolutely right, Ekaterina. There's going to be a lot more business coming your way around immigration and employment. That's for sure. But with pressure of time, I'm going to be passing on the baton to Jagruti, ma'am, who is going to be talking to us about the practical steps, the key considerations, and the potential challenges when Russian companies look to invest and operate in India. So we are now shifting our focus for Russian companies who look to invest in India. And I know, Jagati ma'am, you were dealing with one such Russian company in the past. So over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon and good evening, everyone. In light of the limited time which we have today, I would like to just present the case, not that legal parameters which I want to go through, but yes, I would like to state something with practical aspects of what we are going through. I will just share my screen. I hope that's visible. Is it visible to everyone?
Yes, Jagati ma'am, please go ahead.
Okay. So many of the things are covered in the discussions which we had today, because we already have discussed about the bilateral trade agreements, how and where they have reached, what is the political commitments between India and Russia, and India is very keen to have a Russian participation in Make in India as well as Atmanirbhar Bharat concept, which has been launched by Mr. Modi. We also have the target of reaching to USD 100 billion bilateral trade by 2030, with that we have checked. There is 100% foreign direct investment eligibility in all the sectors where the Russia is making investment into India, except for few sectors where we need a specific permission, which is defense and aerospace. However, the cooperation has been already announced, and government is very happy to have the project on Su-57 BrahMos missile and other defense manufacturing products. Also, there is an investment which is expected in the sectors of energy and petrochemicals, where Russia has a stronger footing than India. A global capacity centers building for software and engineering as well, and book building and outsourcing services, because India has a well nourished manpower which can cater to this outsourcing services, and we have the capability to make global capacity centers. Infrastructure, of course, India is still a developing country, so infrastructure sector also has much investment opportunities to come to India and generate the benefits. Now, going forward, what will be the first parameters which a Russian entity would choose to operate out of India? There are avenues where you make or open a wholly owned subsidiary, which is fully controlled by the Russian entity, and you have the benefit of taking away all the profits which you earn from the wholly owned subsidiary. However, when you open the subsidiary, there are too many regulatory compliances which you are supposed to um, cater to in India. Our Russian counterpart who wanted to open the entity out here, they chose not to open a wholly owned subsidiary, but they chose that should be held by the Russian residents, because they wanted that it has to be cut off from what is entity structure. It should go to the entrepreneur structure. Why? Because they wanted to enter into a trade with their own entity. That was the one first thing which they chose. Another option is to have the joint ventures out here, because joint venture is something which you have a little lesser compliances and it is easy to exit. You can make a global capacity center here, in-house all the services out here, and then cater all across the world. Simplest way of looking at the transaction and establishing the company out here is either a liaison office, branch office, which is for trading, technical services or EPC services, or project office where you have a specific projects like infrastructure or EPC works. This is first parameter which one needs to discuss and coin down on, so that you have the further structures accordingly built. Now, this has been discussed, but I would like to put forward again that the corporate tax, which was earlier 40% for the foreign company, it has reduced to 35%. If you are going in manufacturing sector, which is set up in India, then you have the tax rate of 15%, and other companies, normal companies, will range the taxes from 25% to 30%. Withholding taxes is applicable, but that can be mitigated through India and Russia tax treaty. Make in India process has given too many incentives in different states. You have 20 to 25% capital subsidies available, which means that if you are setting up the plant and machineries here with the Russian money, that will have a capital subsidy available, which will be returned back to the company in a particular time frame. However, these subsidies are available for setting up an entity in different jurisdictions in India itself. There are 29 states. Few of these states have the subsidies available, which one needs to be mindful of when they are setting up the entity in India. Yeah, so we have, I think everybody has discussed about what is the direct investment fund which has been allocated to India and what are the banking regulation requirement. However, one thing which one needs to be clear of, that you should have the bank which is nationalized bank rather than having some Western sanctioned banks, because they are creating too much of the problem to fund or open up the bank accounts in India for the Russian joint ventures or Russian companies. Use domestic and Asian alternative banks which are more easier to cooperate with. Now let me go through the sectors and main parameters which one needs to look at. Practical implementation steps. This is market and regulatory scooping. So the first step is whether a business which is required to be undertaken that has any sector specific regulatory requirement in terms of percentage of holding, regulatory partner in India, who will be holding the shares and who would be able to do what kind of activities. So FDI generally permits 100% automatic investment in most of the sectors, but you will have to see the competitive landscape also, in a sense that, which, as I discussed, the state which is giving you more advantage than setting up the companies in the metro cities. Second is market evaluation. Just see the sector demand, what will be the pricing regulations and localizing requirement, where you will get a better staffing option and where you will get the facilities. Sanction check At the moment, Russian investors must ensure no involvement of sanctioned entities. Indian banks conduct a robust KYC norms and sanction screening for Russian entities who are investing into India. Let's go to investment structuring, which I have already stated which kind of entities you can form in India. Operational setup, that is where do you buy, whether you will be eligible to invest into the land or you will be only eligible to invest into the projects. What infrastructure is needed? What are the specific licensing requirements, say pharma companies or IT companies or infrastructure companies? Goods and service tax registration, it has become mandatory in India for all the entities who are having foreign direct investment. Now, for incorporation, if I give a brief profile, what issues we had with our company, that I will take you only regulatory complexities right now, which will give you a fair idea how do you go ahead with the registration. We have a requirement of having one Indian resident director on the board. This is the major concern which most of the Russian companies face, where you have to source a local director, a resident director on the board. Our Russian client had this issue, and we had to manage that. We provided him some technical person. We connected them to a technical person who would be able to get registration for this entity in India. That services is only possible when you have a proper due diligence partner. You have to check if you have any of your employees who are going to be registered with your company, whether they are resident in India, and they cannot be termed as an employee. They need to be designated as a director on the board for this Indian entity.
Jaguti
Raghu sir,
ma'am,
you want to
thank
say
you.
something?
Sorry, I'm interrupting you. It is such a vibrant topic, and I'm sure there is so much to learn over here. But again, due to paucity of time, I'm interrupting you. I'm so sorry. But I think just one last word over here. What I see on the screen is Sabur Bank, which is a Russian bank which is present in India, and the cooperation between Sabur Bank, SBI, and some of the other banks. I'm just going to leave that as a last thought, and I'm going to request that we cut short because otherwise, the next speaker, who is Ankit, who has been patiently waiting, is going to face a little bit of a challenge. Thank you so much, Ankit, for being so patient. I know you're the last speaker, but clearly not, last on everybody's mind. We're kind of leaving the best for the last, should I say? Because I know there is a lot of interest internationally about Gift City, which is India's first offshore jurisdiction. And Ankit is based out of our Gift City office and speaking to us from there. So, Ankit, why don't you share your thoughts about R&M Capital Fund, which is a Gift City licensed alternative investment fund, and the opportunities that that presents for Russian investors, and what makes it a gateway into India? Over to you, Ankit.
Yeah. Hi, and thanks for the opportunity. So, RLM has established an Category 3 fund in Gift City, which, as Raghu sir told, is an IFSC. So, Gift City kind of facilitates and very tax efficient, regulated, and offshore style entry to India. Ideally, it becomes an geopolitically neutral route to access Indian assets without the complexity of onshore India. And that too at the times when the country's macros are improving strongly at this point of time. As we all know that last month inflation has has been trending downwards and is within the RBI's comfort band now, and this further creates an headroom to for the rate cuts. Our manufacturing PMI at this point of time is among the highest in Asia. Private capex, which has been long dormant, is on the verge of beginning a new cycle. Government infrastructure spending continues to witness strong momentum. Consumption is accelerating, backed by the strong strategic reforms announced by government in August 2025. Our banks and NBFCs are seeing stable asset quality and improving credit growth with healthy corporate balance sheets in last 15 years. Now, these are some of the brief, brief summary about the improving, the macros and how the things are at this point of time. While what Gift City helps you is that, I mean, when you invest via RNM Capital Trust Fund, it kind of benefits with you with 0% capital gain tax, because there are many tax benefits which are kind of announced by the regulator over here. There is no withholding tax, and we have an US denominated structure which kind of minimizes the currency risk. And we have a very good regulatory clarity with IFCA, which is aligned with some of the best global jurisdictions like DIFC and MAS. And so, with improving macros and with the earnings which have kind of now been announced for second quarter, things are looking very beyond, because there is a growing consensus expectation that we will be ending FY26 with a double-digit earnings growth. So, I mean, these are very exciting times, and we at RLM are focusing on high-quality, capital-efficient Indian businesses with improving unit economics, stable cash flows, and strong corporate governance. Precisely the companies which are going to benefit most from the earnings recovery going forward. So this is very right time or a compelling opportunity, because if Russian investors are looking for a diversification or stability or a high quality growth, our structure in Gift City is the right structure and the right at the right moment. We have been consolidating for last 12 months. Indian markets has underperformed, and there is a growing confidence that we will start earnings will start picking, margins are going to expand, backed by the cost rationalization and the consumption acceleration that is happening right now. So yeah, that was brief about the R&M Capital Fund based out of Gift City.
Thank you so much, Ankit. I just want to ask you one pertinent follow-on question about Gift City, which is in the mind of a lot of people, which is Gift City India's first offshore jurisdiction? And
Yeah.
if it is an offshore jurisdiction, are we living up to the ease of doing business that one associates with an offshore jurisdiction? Over to you, Ankit, for your thoughts.
So this is not only the first; it is the only offshore jurisdictions. There is a growing traction over here. Many international banks are setting up their operations. Um, Today, when I was speaking with one of the banker, he was saying that the rates offered, I mean, for raising debt, the rates offered at the gift are the most competitive across the globe. And the debt which was raised by the Indian corporates last year has started picking from the gift, because it is offering several tax benefits. Again, there is no withholding tax on the loans which are kind of approved. So last year, I think in FY25, around 26% of the global debt which was raised through the gift units. So yeah.
And in terms of the equity markets, Ankit, I mean, again, you touched upon corporate governance. I think typically a lot of global investors are concerned when they invest outside their home market about, governance issues in foreign markets. We all have heard of governance issues, for instance, of Chinese companies getting listed on NASDAQ, having sketchy audit processes and having sketchy RPT or related party transactions. Is that something also of a concern for foreign investors who are investing in India? I mean, they get a sense that, maybe Indian founders and businesses have sketchy business practices or accounting policies which are at best a little malleable. Do you feel that is the case, or do you see corporate governance systems improving and equity performing well?
Since it is a new structure and at the very beginning of the first offshore destination within India, so things are enhancing month on month. I mean, as the time passes, but the regulator, that IFCA that we over here, is very prudent. They are very very particular about all the laws and all the I mean, continuous audits are done, surprise visits are done, and checks are done to see your books and how you are maintaining your um, entire what I say, entire fund accounting and how you are kind of reporting those to the investors. So I think laws are very investor friendly, and IFCA has been very prudent in ensuring that the governance is at the best and on edge of the is aligned with the global standards.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that, Ankit. I think we have one question from Mr. Rajesh Saxena about plumbing parts from India for heat control solutions, which I think Gleb has been kind enough to answer. Gleb, would you like to maybe supplement something further to your comment? Would you like to share some more thoughts on the requirement for plumbing solutions, heat control solutions in Russia?
No, not expert in this particular sector,
Well,
of course.
maybe let me say a couple of additional words. Of course, we don't have the statistics about these plumbing parts or electrical parts, but what we can say is that many products that formerly came from Europe are being substituted by products from Asia, of course, in particular from India, from China. But I think the Russian market is open, so and the Russian market is growing and developing. So I think most probably, if you're the producer or you have these parts in India and want to sell them in Russia, you can either do it yourself or find distribution partners. What is important anyway is that there are certain standards, technical standards, GOST, it's called GOST, which apply to, there are a lot of GOSTs and for various products. So to bring the parts into the Russian market, they need to be certified for the import. Without these certifications, the goods cannot be imported to Russia. So I think that is really important to have the certifications so that you can legally bring the goods to the Russian market. And the rest is, I would say, market analysis and business. If you have an understanding for the market and the statistics also about the market and the parts, and you're competitive with your prices and the quality, I think, of course, you have an opportunity to sell your goods in Russia. And what we have seen, the substitution of European products from China, that has been working really very well for the Chinese. And I'm not talking only about cars and machinery. It's much more also in the consumer sector. So if the Chinese can do it, the Indians can do it for sure as well. So I think if you take your time, make an analysis of the market, and also check the concrete products, the certification criteria, everything is possible.
Thank you so much for that elaborate response, Thomas. Thank you. I have another question from Sammy, and I'm going to take it one by one. He said India and Russia are both moving towards deeper investment cooperation, especially through mechanisms like Gift City. What concrete policy or regulatory reform do you believe are still needed on either side to make large-scale cross-border investment faster, safer, and more predictable for business? Ankit, would you like to take that?
So I try to answer that. I think from regulation perspective, already there are many policies defined by IFCA, like from IFCA is ensuring that right from the appointment of your KMP, you are very much aligned with, I mean, from the investors' point of view, they ensure that the right KMP is hired. When I say KMP, the compliance officer, principal officer, or fund manager, they ensure that the people with the expertise and the right technical background are kind of are there in the office, and it is kind of scrutinized by the IFCA, and only those kind of people are kind of approved. It ensures that people with the right expertise and technical background are kind of there in the team who are undertaking this business. That's one thing. from your fund accounting and fund reporting perspective, there are regular audits which are conducted by the IFCA. There are new laws which are kind of always enhanced. There is a public consideration or suggestion taken on a timely basis to whatever the challenges businesses are facing here. IFCA ensures that they are kind of taking suggestions and then accordingly they amend those laws so that it becomes more business friendly. Um, I think regular audits, guidance, then there are new examinations which are now being conducted by the IFCA, AML policies, which are kind of going to be very mandatory and necessary for all the people working within the fund house or in the banking to take those examinations to ensure again people are keeping up the pace with the uh, new laws which are enhanced or the new laws which are in pipeline. So to ensure that everybody who is working over here and all the businesses are following the right um, governance practices and the very ethical reporting, IFCA always ensures that they have ensured that investors' rights are always protected first. So yeah, you would you like to add something, Raghu sir?
Perfect. I do actually, from my side, if I were to suggest a concrete regulatory reform, that would be allowing Russian ruble as a currency for investment into Gift City, and the second would be allowing Indian rupees which are lying in the special Vostro account, which was something which was set up by our Reserve Bank of India after the Ukraine conflict, and that would go a long way in helping Russian investment get into Gift City. These are two suggestions from my side. We're moving very quickly ahead. Russia and India companies often express interest in entering each other's markets, but many hesitate due to operational, tax, legal complexities. From your perspective, what are the three most critical practical steps that can simplify and accelerate market entry today? Jagrati ma'am, would you like to give the India perspective, and then we'll go to Thomas for the Russian perspective of three practical steps to simplify, accelerate market entry? Over to you, Jagrati ma'am.
Yes, I would definitely take this up. To accelerate the market entry in India, you have to be very clear about the regulation under which you fall into, the jurisdiction which you select, and you have to first do the due diligence in a sense that you coordinate with the right partner who will guide you. What will be the share capital requirement? How much funding you should have for the initial period of setup? The lease agreements, how which kind of lease agreement you should have and what kind of document you should produce before the authorities so that you will not have any hiccups and your entity is set up and running within a period of 1 month to 5 weeks, that is 4 to 5 weeks. That is what is most requirement must, and what are the people who are entering into their KYC should be clear with the bank.
Perfect. Thank you. And Thomas or Gleb, would you like to take that three practical steps to help enhance market entry into Russia?
Yes, without going into the detail, because it's a really general question, and I would actually even not answer it with legal knowledge or so. I think what is important is that you have somebody in your company, in your team, yeah, either on the Russian or the Indian side, who has the will and also the skills to support your business in Russia. So it's either an Indian national who is also willing to relocate to Russia and who speaks Russian, or a Russian national who is working for you and speaks at least fluent English. I think to make business successful from a distance is very difficult. And I've seen so many stories of companies who try to do business in the Russian market, but they were too far away. Yeah. And you need to have the contacts here. And also, and that is maybe legal, you need to have the knowledge about the local rules. That is really crucial. Russia is not the Wild West anymore. It was the Wild West in the 90s, but that is long time past. So to be compliant here in Russia, to know and comply with the local laws is very, very important, and you can save a lot of money if you take that serious. So you have to have the knowledge, and you have to have the manpower that will carry forward your business, and in both countries. So the back office or the headquarter in India, and your local guy or team in Russia. Otherwise, I think the success will be very limited. And in this regard, it's very important what President Putin will sign when coming to India, because they want to improve the conditions to transfer Indian specialists to Russia. Yeah, so to ease the exchange of qualified specialists to Russia and also to India. I think that's very important, because that is the know-how transfer that is necessary.
Absolutely. So last word to you, Mr. Marwah. Do you think, like Thomas just mentioned, on a very practical ground, knowledge of Indian taxes, you're a master of Indian taxes. Indian taxes are obviously getting very tough. Do you think it is possible for Indian taxes to get any simpler for foreign investors, or are Indian taxes the way it is and you have to take it as a fait accompli?
No, I think there a lot of clarity has now been brought about for foreign investments and non-resident corporate taxation in India. Yes, your arm's length transactions are required because we have a transfer pricing law. So as long as you're adhering to that, right, and everything is advised and structured, we see no problem any further now with the tax department.
Perfect. Thank you so much. With that, I'm going to conclude by quoting Mikhail Gorbachev, the Russian ex-president, who said that if you are not moving forward, you begin to move backward. And with those ominous words, I want to urge all the delegates and the panelists to move forward with earnest on India-Russia cooperation and do your little bit in making this the friendship of this century, because I think there is a lot of business and trade that is yet to be done. With those words, I want to thank all the delegates and the panelists for their time, and wish them all the luck and success in life ahead.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for organizing the seminar. All the best to Delhi.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Yes.
you, Sammy Bhai. All the best.
Thank you.
Would
All
you
the
like to
best.
say a
Thank you.
last few words, Sammy?
Thank you.
No, it was very beautifully organized, and I agree. This is a starting point and just the way to start. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.